When officers pushed open the back door of the Jennings grocery warehouse, they expected the same scene they'd found twice before, a ransacked room and a thief long gone. But this time, something was different. In the far corner, tucked behind a row of metal crates, they spotted movement subtle, barely visible under the flickering light. It wasn't a thief. It was the evidence that would change everything. If this story shook you, make sure to subscribe and click the bell to Cold Case Secrets, where we uncover the truth behind the world's darkest mysteries. The town of Brookdale, Pennsylvania, never made the news for anything big. It wasn't the kind of place where people locked their doors during the day, or where small talk came with suspicion. It was a place of routine, quiet mornings, early nights, and neighbors who knew every dog's name on every street. That piece shifted the moment a string of break-ins began hitting the town's oldest businesses. The first was dismissed as random. The second raised an eyebrow. The third took Brookdale from small-town comfort to quiet panic. And all three crimes had one thing in common. A thief who moved with precision, avoided cameras, and left behind nothing but questions. Police didn't have a name for him yet. The public did. They called him the Ghost. But this isn't just a story about stolen cash or missing electronics. Because by the time investigators reached their third crime scene, they weren't tracking a thief anymore. They were tracking something far darker, something that had quietly lived in the town for years, hidden in plain sight. A truth waiting to be uncovered, a secret waiting to be found. And in the center of it all was a young warehouse clerk named Evan Lorne, the last person anyone suspected would be connected to a crime that would haunt Brookdale for years. The first incident happened on a rainy Thursday night in September. Jennings Grocery, a family-run store that had stood on Main Street since the 1950s, discovered its back office emptied. No forced entry. No alarms tripped. Shelves untouched. Only two things missing: the store's weekly deposit envelope and an entire box of backed-up paper ledgers. Strange but not alarming. The second hit came 12 days later. A pawn shop on Hazel Street. Same signature. Clean entry, no alarms, selective items taken. Not jewelry. Not cash. Only old paperwork. Ownership receipts. Transaction logs from 10 years earlier. And a single security camera stripped from the wall. The one pointing at the storage room. That one rattled people. Paperwork wasn't worth stealing. Not unless someone needed something buried. By the third break-in, the town felt different. Moms kept porch lights on longer. Store owners triple-locked back doors. And the police finally stopped thinking petty theft and started thinking pattern. The third target was a warehouse behind Jennings Grocery, the one place in town still running outdated cameras and filing cabinets filled with decades of handwritten records. The break-in happened just after midnight. The Ghost moved quickly, cleanly, like someone who had done this before, maybe many times. But that night would be the one night where something went wrong. The night one tiny mistake would expose something even detectives weren't ready for. Detectives Connor Hale and Marissa Breen were assigned to the case. Hale with 20 years under his belt. Breen with only 3, but already known for noticing the things others missed. They approached the third crime scene expecting more of the same. Cut wires, missing records, nothing helpful. But two details stood out. First, a footprint. Barely there, almost erased by dust, but Breen spotted the outline of a work boot tread, not sold in most apartment stores. Second, the warehouse clerk, Evan Lorne, was nowhere to be found. He was supposed to start his shift at 5 a.m. He never showed. Co-workers described Evan as quiet but dependable. A young guy in his mid-20s who kept mostly to himself, rode an old motorcycle, and rarely took days off. So when officers went to his small rental apartment 4 blocks away, they expected maybe an overslept alarm or a minor accident. Instead, they found something that shifted the case from property crime to something much closer to a nightmare. The apartment was undisturbed, no forced entry, no signs of struggle. But Evan's wallet still sat on the kitchen table. His keys hung neatly on the hook by the door. His motorcycle parked untouched outside. And on his bed was the last thing anyone expected, a pile of old receipts of the exact type stolen from the pawn shop. Some dated back 10 years. Some belonged to customers long moved away. But one One had a name Detective Hale recognized, a name that would later unravel the entire investigation. The name was Maya Lauren Evans' older sister, a girl who'd vanished 11 years earlier without explanation, a cold case the town had given up on. Until now, detectives pulled every file connected to Maya Lauren's disappearance. She'd vanished at 17, last seen walking home from a late shift at the same grocery store Evan now worked for. Nobody ever found it. No suspect ever identified. Only rumors and heartache left behind. The discovery of her name among the stolen records wasn't coincidence. Someone was targeting paperwork linked to Maya's last known locations. Someone who knew what was hidden inside those logs. Someone who knew the truth wasn't buried, just misfiled. But the deeper investigators dug, the stranger the connections became. Old payroll files showed something off. Maya had clocked out 30 minutes before she vanished. Yet 2 employees swore she left earlier. Security footage for that night? Deleted, not corrupted, manually removed. And the manager on duty that night, a man named Richard Cleary, had left town the following year without explanation. He'd resurfaced 3 states away, running another small grocery store. When investigators attempted to contact Cleary, he refused to speak and hung up on them. By now, Evan's disappearance looked less like a runaway case and more like someone trying and failing to silence the past. Because hours after Cleary refused to talk, detectives got a call from a woman claiming she had information about Maya's case. A woman who wouldn't give her name. A woman who sounded terrified. She said 6 words. Evan found something he shouldn't have. Then the line went dead. That same night, Officer Carla Simmons discovered an abandoned backpack in the alley behind the Brookdale Library. Inside, Evan's phone smashed, a flashlight, a wrench, and a folded map showing a route from Jennings' grocery into the old service tunnels beneath the building. Tunnels no one had used in decades. Tunnels that led to a locked room beneath the warehouse. A room that didn't appear on any official records. The same room police reached days later, the one where they would find the unexpected evidence. The locked room sat at the end of a narrow hallway, its entrance blocked by collapsed shelving and rusted piping. It shouldn't have been accessible at all, dust disturbed, footprints visible, and at the end of the hall, the heavy steel door had been pried open by force. Inside, officers expected maybe a stash of stolen goods, maybe a hideout. What they found made the room fall silent. Stacked boxes of old store paperwork, missing ledgers, receipts, payroll sheets meticulously organized, as though someone had been piecing together a timeline, evidence of someone working obsessively, searching, connecting dots. And in the far back corner of the room was a movement officers first spotted subtle, almost ghost-like in the dim light. It wasn't a person. It was a small recording device blinking red, still running. Detective Breen lifted it slowly. The screen displayed the last recorded file, labeled with a single timestamp, 2 nights earlier, the night Evan disappeared. No one spoke as Breen pressed play. Static, footsteps, heavy breathing. Then Evan's voice was quiet, anxious, barely above a whisper. "I know what you did. I know what you did to her." A sound metal scraping. A second voice distorted, low, angry. "You should have stayed out of this." A struggle. Something falling. Evan gasping. And then one final sentence from the unknown voice. "The truth stays buried, just like she did." The audio cut. Detective stood frozen, the weight of the words heavy in the stale air. The ghost wasn't stealing for profit. He was stealing to erase the past. Someone in town had murdered Maya Lauren and had been hiding the evidence for 11 years. And Evan Lauren had discovered their secret. By the time the audio recording made headlines, Brookdale was no longer the quiet town it had once been. Rumors spread fast, some accusing old managers, others pointing fingers at former employees, a few even blaming Evan himself. Police refused to release details about the second voice. Not yet, but they did release one piece of information. The boot print found at the warehouse belonged to a very specific brand issued mostly to mid-level maintenance workers at Jennings' grocery between 2006 and 2010, the exact years Richard Cleary worked as manager. and the exact time Maya Lorne disappeared. Detectives reached out again to Cleary. No answer, but someone else answered. His attorney. Cleary wouldn't speak. I wouldn't travel. Wouldn't cooperate in any way, which only fueled suspicion that he wasn't running anymore. He was hiding. Meanwhile, Evan remained missing. No ransom. No sightings. Nobody. Just silence. A silence that felt too familiar to anyone who remembered Maya's case. As days turned into a week, detectives made one final realization. Evan hadn't been the one sneaking into old storerooms or prying open safes. He hadn't been stealing old receipts. He had been collecting them, tracking them, following a trail left by someone else. He wasn't the thief. He had been chasing the thief. The ghost wasn't Evan. The ghost was the person who killed his sister. And they were still in Brookdale. Some crimes leave scars. Others leave echoes. But every so often, a case resurfaces after years of silence, not because the truth changed, but because someone finally dared to look for it. Evan Lorne was that someone, and now he is gone. His last recorded words pointed to a hidden killer. A killer investigators believe had ties not just to Maya's disappearance, but to a network of falsified documents, missing receipts, and altered logs that stretched across 3 states. A killer who might have been using small-town stores as a cover for something far larger. And as police reviewed the final seconds of the recording again, they realized something they had missed the first time. In the background, faint but unmistakable, was a second set of footsteps. Not the attackers. Not Evan's. Someone else was there. Someone watching. Someone breathing quietly in the corner of the room. The story didn't end 11 years ago. It didn't end with Evan's disappearance. And it didn't end with the discovery of that recording. Because the last frame of security footage was recovered from the alley behind the library. Showed a figure stepping into the shadows wearing the same rare work boots from 2008. Meaning the ghost wasn't done yet. And Brookdale's darkest secret was only just beginning to surface. Part 2 is where the truth finally starts to reveal itself, and it's far worse than anyone imagined. Thank you for watching Cold Case Secrets.